Jay here from Stretford, Paddock. This is a one-on-one interview. Joining us is leading journalist Henry Winter, who is the talk of the town at the minute, to be honest with you, Henry. I'm going to be honest, you've got a bit of a bone to pick with you. You ruined our Christmas do last night. We were out on the deal, me and the Paddock lads, having a nice bit of food in Manchester City Centre, a nice little relaxing moment. And then the next thing you know, my phone starts going crazy. Henry Winter's posted on X or on Twitter, and he's spoken to Marcus Rashford. And yeah, we had to sort of, me and Joe and Ethan had to run back to the studio to do a bit of breaking news. I'll get into the nuts and bolts of the interview in a minute, the chat you had with him. But if I could just ask you, how did that come about? Because there's all this speculation and everyone was wondering what's going on. Is Marcus happy? Is there any issue there with his future at Manchester United? And basically, you just went and spoke to yourself and got it straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. I mean, how did it come about? I mean, it was planned for a week ago. And then I think on the Tuesday of last week, when Marcus was, he goes to his old primary school regularly. I mean, there's a 3G pitch there that he's funded, and the kids and obviously the teachers knew him. And look, he's not alone in that. A lot of players go back to their old schools and do a lot of work. So it was planned for last week, and it's important to appreciate the timing of it, Jay, as I'm sure you're aware, because people are thinking, oh, he's doing it on the back of the sort of headlines yesterday morning or the back of being dropped in the derby. This was planned a week ago, and then I think Manchester United brought forward a hospital visit, and so they obviously went, and obviously that took precedence, quite rightly. So this was postponed a week, and then he went in and 420 presents for 420 pupils. And look, Jay, you know me. I mean, I go into these places slightly open-eyed, and just to hear from teachers, the kids saying that some of the kids, this will be the only present they get at Christmas, and you just think, what sort of world do we live in? And obviously, I became interested in Marcus Rashford because of his performances for you, his performances for England, whatever it is, 16, 17 goals in 60 caps, 2 World Cups for England. But also, I do quite like role models in society, and we could do with some real leaders, and many of them have stepped out of the dressing room to just sort of work on things like child food poverty. And without going over that again, I mean, I remember speaking to people around Boris Johnson at the time through connections in Whitehall and Downing Street, and they just simply didn't understand, the power of the young footballer with a platform, with a mission. I'm sure you've spoken to Rashford's mother, Mel, a remarkable lady. So, and I said, you're not going to beat this. There's only one number. I made a joke to actually them. I said, there's only one number 10 who's going to win this, and it's not the one with the front door. And so anyway, so sort of admiration for him as a human being. I do feel he gets slightly picked on for whatever reason. I still think in this country, there's still a sort of stay in your lane element to some sort of sportsmen and women. And, why shouldn't they if they've been through things which I've never seen? As black players, as players from disadvantaged backgrounds, they're absolutely, I think it's fantastic they campaign. But clearly, the truth is always on the pitch. The application has to be right in training. So that was really the background of it. So my admiration for him and the timing of it just got delayed a week. It was nothing to do with being left out of the derby. It was nothing to do with being, the headlines in the morning papers, although they were obviously very well sourced headlines.
It was obviously wasn't anything to do with that, but the timing was quite sort of opportune, if you will. It was a good time to talk to Marcus Rashford because of everything that was going on, and the main sort of headline, if you will, that everyone's picked up on from what you posted is him saying about him seeking a new challenge. When you asked him about that, when you asked him about his future, I just want to clear that up and just make sure there's no ambiguity here, because he didn't say I want to leave, but he did say I want a new challenge, which for me means he's not going to stay at Manchester United Football Club. Is that how you perceive it? Is that him saying, look, it's time for me to move on?
I think he's a realist. I think he sees the direction of travel. I think what Ruben Amorim said. I mean, look, it's sad in a way because your great club and your team, which has been drifting for 11 years now since Sir Alex Ferguson left. I think you've got a fantastic head coach. You can see it. You saw it in the performance, the spirits, the tactics work. You got players playing well. The direction of travel under Ruben Amorim. I mean, now for me, it seems not the time to leave Manchester United. But I think there's a realism with Marcus Rashford. I mean, he's an intelligent individual. I mean, he will have seen the sort of, I mean, the stories yesterday morning, and I would have asked him these questions regardless. But the stories, which the club didn't go out of their way to play down, which they have done in the past with perceived speculation. But the journalists who are writing these stories, James Ducker of the Telegraph, Paul Hurst of the Times, and others, these are very well respected, very well connected individuals, who wouldn't put their name to stories like that unless it was there was substance to it. So I think everyone can see that there's a passing of the ways, and it's just a question of when and to where. But I think the point that Marcus Rashford was very keen to make, and he spoke very lucidly, very in control of the situation as we spoke. We spoke for about 6, 7, 8 minutes after he'd handed out all these gifts. Was that, of his deep respect for Manchester United. And look, it's been in his blood, well, all his life. It's been in his life, the club, since for 19 years now? Was it for 426 games, 160 odd goals? He's grown up there. And obviously Manchester United paid him incredibly well. He's done well for them on the pitch in difficult times since Ferguson left. I mean, how many Manchester United players have really starred in the last 11 years? He's brought some brightness in a gloomy time. I don't need to tell you that. I mean, you've been chronicling it, very powerfully. But obviously, there are issues, whatever the issues are, whether he's not applying himself enough in training, on the pitch, we can see that, his body language, tracking back, issues like that, whether it's a tactical thing, whether he feels he's not getting the service, whatever the issues are, clearly, and this, the parting of the ways is inevitable. Plus also, we live, even a club like Manchester United, the second biggest club in the world, which generates fortunes through revenue. We live in an age of PSR, and perhaps Ruben Amorim and the new sort of football board structure that's come in thinks that to generate money for new signings, for this fantastic new head coach you've got who's come in to strengthen the squad and buy, because it's a different tactical shape to what a lot of the players are used to bring some new signings in, that they have to sell one of their assets. And plus, Marcus Rashford will be pure profit under PSR because he's academy.
Do you see any scenario where Marcus Rashford does stay at Manchester United? Do you think there could be a way where himself or the club, or if he is given more opportunities during this season, because I know there's only a month or whatever, or a few weeks, so the January transfer window, but if he doesn't go then, if he's here till the summer, do you think there's any scenario where you can see Marcus Rashford staying, or do you feel like this is really like the end game here, that this is the time when it's come to an end? I
think it is the end game, but then you are a club famous for not knowing when the end of a game actually is, because you keep playing. So, I mean, where does he go? I mean, it's all very well sort of having headlines and stories that someone is going to leave, and clearly there's an acceptance on both sides that it probably is best if he moves on. But where does he go? A player of his ability, 27, he's probably got 7 years left at the top. He's played almost 500 games for club and country. He's not carrying an injury. I mean, he looked ridiculously fit, whip it like almost. But where does he go? It's too early for him to go to Saudi, and if he's got England ambitions, Saudi doesn't work. Real Madrid, they've got Kylian Mbappe. Barcelona, they probably don't have the money. Would he go to an English club? I mean, I think he's so proud of his Manchester United connections. I think he might find it difficult to go to another English club. Could they afford him? I don't know what his wages are, but they'll be substantial. I've read all the figures, north of 300. So, where does he go? I mean, Arsenal could probably do with a left-sided attacker and a centre forward, Heung-min Son at Spurs, but would they pay the sort of money and the wages? I don't know. It's all very easy saying, listen, a passing of the ways is inevitable, but where does he go to? Are Manchester United going to sort of pay part of the wages in an era of PSR? Obviously, you've got the Jadon Sancho situation, and maybe Marcus Rashford also looks at how Jadon Sancho is doing and sees there is life. I saw him on Sunday for Chelsea, and he played well. So personally, I would love it if he stayed. I just think there's still a good player there at 27. I think you want to hold on to homegrown players, one of our own. I still think that matters, particularly for a great club like yours, which has got a history going back to the 1920s. With sort of homegrown players in the match day squad. But look, if he doesn't fit into the manager's plans, then it makes sense to move on.
Can I just ask you, when you were chatting to Marcus, what his mood was like? Because we had reports, and you spoke earlier about his body language at times, and so when we've spoken earlier, about his body language when I spoke to you before, and it sounds just looks like he's unhappy. And was he, when you were chatting to him, did he seem like a young lad who's relaxed and okay? What was your impression of his his mood? Because obviously there's all these sort of reports or rumours that he's not quite happy. You can see the body language doesn't look great at times. Then he's just coming off the back of being dropped for one of the biggest games, if not the biggest game of the season. What was your impression of him, just as sort of how he's getting on with it all?
I was expecting to meet a slightly more frustrated individual, but I think maybe it was the setting, being back at the school, all the love being shown to him from former teachers, their pride at what one of their own has gone on and achieved. Clearly, the impact that he's having still on the kids in the room. I mean, the kids in the room who were benefiting from Marcus Rashford's food campaigns. And then giving them the present, the delight in it. And I mean, there was one quite sort of, me, I'm a cynical old hack, but even I was moved when a 4-year-old went up to him and just said, thanks for my present and thanks for all the food. I mean, what sort of world do we live in? I don't want to hark back to that, but, there are bigger things at play here than simply kicking a ball around a football pitch. Feeding our kids is quite important. And for them to go to school and learn, you can't do that on an empty stomach. So, yes, I think he felt a lot of love in that room. He was there with a school friend and another friend. Nice guys. I had a good chat with them. I mean, I've heard one or two of the stories around. They seem sort of, like you, just sort of, United fans, just straightforward guys. One of them was one of his old school friends from Button Lane and was greeted warmly by the teachers. Who were obviously there at the time. So yeah, and then just talking to them, I mean, he seemed an individual in control. I mean, I've heard all the stories, and I always thought he was a slightly introverted character. Maybe he is when he goes out into the real world, and he's got people hounding him, and some of the abuse that he gets, I mean, is disgraceful. I haven't walked in his steps, so I don't know the sort of the racist abuse that he gets on a regular basis, and I'm sure he tries to cut himself off from it. But it can't be easy. It can't be easy when you do get hounded by, one or two sections of fans. I'm not in the stadium. Your match day support, home and away, fabulous. But obviously social media is difficult at times. But then, I mean, as every athlete, every footballer knows, you can write the headlines by your performances on the pitch, by your application in training, by making yourself, like Harry Maguire's done, I guess. I mean, Harry Maguire's a great role model in that, someone who was out of the picture under Ten Hag, fought his way back. And look, I think he's one of your starting centre halves now. It might help their three. But so, yeah, I mean, talking to him, I mean, just seeing him, he was in there for 2 hours, he arrived on time, or as when the kids were expected. 420 kids, he made sure everyone had a present, and he did sort of group photos with them. And then he left, 2 hours later. He didn't seem particularly troubled in that. I mean, I keep hearing stories that, he was at such and such a place enjoying a party. I mean, he physically couldn't have been. So, maybe there are one or two issues with his lifestyle, and Ruben Amorim has a point. Maybe there are one or two things that he needs to focus on and get better. But it does seem slightly amplified with Marcus Rashford. So, but yeah, so talking to him, he was completely in control, knew what he was saying, was very aware of it. And he kept on coming back to when I leave, I want to leave kind of, with no hard feelings, with respect. I don't want to be leaving the door on its hinges on the way out. So that's my image, not his. But, he wanted to leave with respect for Amorim, with the club. And the club's done fantastically by him. And, it's made him a multi-millionaire. You can't ignore that, giving him a platform. And he's done a lot for them. He's played through pain at times with a back injury, which I don't think people are really aware about. Obviously, played through, horrendous abuse that he endured with England. But yeah, no, he's seen. But one thing he was very determined to say is that he'd noted how some other players had left and maybe not left with the sort of respect for the club as they left. And he wanted to make sure that when he did leave, he left with a statement. Obviously, it was going to be a very emotional statement. And as he walked out, I said, "You're still a Red, aren't you?" And I said, "You'll always be a Red." And he said, "Yeah, absolutely, 100%."
But yeah, definitely. And I hope Marcus Rashford is shown respect when he leaves, because it hasn't always been great for Marcus at Manchester United, but he scored a lot of goals. He scored a lot of big goals for the club. He's obviously come through the academy, and it would be nice to see him sort of well thought of when he leaves. He obviously, is a United fan, as you said there, and I don't think that's any secret. And I think at times criticism is fine, but I think at times it has gone past that. I think it's some of the stick he's got has been unfair, and I just think that if he is going to leave, and it does look like he is, that he is well remembered and is well treated by the fans when he does return. Just how do you think he'll be received by the fans? How do you think the sort of the fans will perceive him when he leaves? Because I know obviously I can talk as a United fan, but you've been covering Marcus Rashford's career and the reaction and some of the tune he's had in the media. Do you think he will be sort of remembered fondly by United fans when he moves on? Do you think he should be?
I mean, look, he's 27 at the moment. I mean, I was thinking to him, this is your peak year. It's carpe diem. You have to seize the moment. But he's played almost 500 times for one of the biggest clubs in the world, where there's so much competition for places, and also for England as well, where there's a lot of competition for places. He's played in 2 World Cups. I mean, I think we should remember there must be a good player in there. The fact that he's played almost 500 times, I mean, to play 50 times for club and country is a remarkable achievement. So to do that, there's clearly a good player in there. I mean, he's captained England in the past. He's had some phenomenal performances. I'm trying to balance, obviously, what he's done for England, played in 2 World Cups. And also for Manchester United, big moments for Manchester United. Was it 2 seasons ago that the 30 goals, some remarkable performances? But it's about sustained application. I mean, it's about the next training session, the next game, the next season. It's about that. He's like many sort of young footballers over here, are great admirers and readers of the Tim S. Grover book, Relentless, and he's a sort of the sporting mindset guru. And relentless is key. And I mean, I'm sure you've interviewed Gary Neville. I mean, relentless is Gary's middle name. I mean, he's just and that embodied that Manchester United team under Sir Alex Ferguson, the manager himself and the players. They were absolutely relentless. And I think you've got to do that. And Rashford needs to regain that relentlessness. Every move, every breakdown in play, every transition, to be relentless, to get the ball back, to get on the ball, to threaten the opposition, to threaten the fullback. I think there are also tactical issues. Can he play as the left-sided 10 in Amorim's system that he is going to play? But yeah, I mean, look, I hope he stays. But look, all the mood music is that he's off.
You mentioned there about the can he play in a Ruben Amorim team, and you'd asked him about that, about the obviously this new formation, the 3-4-2-1, and I think he mentioned about it's like the 2 10s and playing there. And obviously he's ready to move on, but you still feel like there's a player that wants to play whilst he's at Manchester United under Ruben Amorim, that will play for Ruben Amorim, because obviously he's not going to leave straight away, and if he does leave, it might not be till the summer.
Well, I mean, this is the time of year when everyone looks in shop windows, don't we? I mean, it's Christmas, and the field for Marcus Rashford will be his shop window. I think he needs to be, applying himself, impressing Amorim, then delivering on the pitch. And if the club still wants him out, and Amorim still wants him out to sort of generate money, then he goes. But I think there'll be more suitors if they can see, whether it's video or whether it's scouts going to watch him, that he's delivering on the pitch. I mean, the footballers are adaptable. I mean, he is not simply imprisoned in a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, and he has to play the left-sided. I mean, you see Manchester United every game. Marcus Rashford can play through the middle. He scored 3 goals in 2 or 3 starts for Amorim through the middle. He can play slightly deeper as a 10. He wears the 10. I mean, as he says, his best position is coming off the left. But I think footballers are adaptable. I mean, you've seen it already with the players under Ruben Amorim, and this is with him training them in mid-season, whereas a pre-season they'll be able to do it even more. players are adaptable. Look, he's obviously going to strengthen the team and bring other players in, maybe in the attacking areas as well. Gyökeres has been spoken about. But yeah, I think Marcus Rashford is an intelligent footballer. I mean, he made the interesting point that it depends on the opposition, how he plays. He looks at their flaws, whether it's a fullback. I mean, this is me surmising what he was saying, but if the fullback's pushed up, he'll try to get him behind more. If they're inverting into midfield, all those. I mean, we have this image of footballers, even footballers who are underperforming, simply walking out onto the pitch. They've spent a lot of time looking at clips, preparing. They're professionals, like you do. The reason why you're a success is because of the hard work you put in before you get sort of mugs like me onto interview. So it's all about preparation, in any walk of life. And, he will absolutely do that. And he'll look at the type of player that he's playing up against, the strengths and weaknesses of that player. Should he go on the outside of them? Should he cut in? Does the right-sided centre-half come over to support the fullback? All issues like that. So, look, don't just turn up. It's not like some sort of village hall play where everyone sort of tumbles out the pub and sort of walks in and tries to perform Shakespeare. There's a few more dress rehearsals going in. But look, Ruben Amorim is a fantastic coach. And look, if I was in his situation, I'd be excited to have a coach of his quality, man management skills, demanding nature, and clearly Manchester United are going to go places. And you would think he would try to want to work for him. But it does look like the door is closing.
Just ask you on that finally. I know you asked that question, so you must have had an idea of the answer you were going to get. But were you surprised? Because this is a player that, I mean, what are we? Was it 18 years he's been at the club? Probably, if you were to pick a player who's the face of Manchester United, he'd be one of them. And to get him, to finally say, or for the first time I've ever heard him say or seen him say he wants to leave. What was your reaction when you heard that? Was that a surprise to you, or did you sort of see it coming?
Oh, to be honest, I would probably react as a journalist rather than a fan. I'm not a fan of Manchester United. I'm an admirer of the club, obviously. Just to add, I did contact the club afterwards to just to make them aware, just out of respect for the club, so they didn't go, oh wow, look, this has just been unleashed on social media. I've got too much respect for Ruben Amorim, and you've got a brilliant media department who I've always found very sort of respectful and honest. So I wanted to make sure, and also for Marcus's benefit, that he doesn't go into Carrington this morning, and obviously the manager's got a press conference this morning, that they weren't that they were aware of it, and the football department knew that he'd spoken out. So was I surprised he spoke out? I mean, looking back on it, driving home, and I had a fair amount of time stuck in Trafford on the M60 and M62, counting cones, and a bit sad in a way, because he obviously loves the club. He's been there a long time. It looks like they want to move on. He realizes he's got to move on, and I just think that it'd be be horrible if it became messy, because it's he deserves more than that. But given what he's done for the club deserves more than that. I think, knowing your match day support in particular, I think there will be a lot of love and respect, particularly if he absolutely shows his very best in these last few games.
Yeah, I hope you're right. I hope he does show his best, and I hope he does get the send-off he deserves. And I'll always, I've always said I've Marcus Rashford. I love Marcus Rashford. Not just, you mentioned earlier, not just what he does on the pitch, but I love what he did during COVID. Just being a great role model and stepping up when it was needed. And I hope he does get the respect he deserves. And it's been great chatting to you, Henry, as well, because it's been sort of good to get behind the scenes of the interview and find out a little bit more about it. Because one of the things that surprised me, at first I was a little bit disappointed with it. I thought, he's been dropped, and then he's given an interview, said he wants to leave. That's not the way to go about things. But then you cleared it up as to sort of how that happened, and that isn't the case. And I appreciate you chatting to us, because I can't imagine what your phone's been like the last sort of 12 hours. And after we did a live, I turned on Sky Sports and I saw you. I think you were out in the rain, giving an interview, giving a reaction.
Yeah. Well, look, my only regret in all this is that I ruined your Christmas dinner. So I will make it up to you. That turkey, no. I imagine, is cold now, but I hope you give someone a stuffing over Christmas on the pitch.
Thank you, and just what I say, you don't need any praise from me. You've been doing this long enough and have reached the very top. But I thought the way you did it as well, the sort of setting the story and the post you did, it was really good. It was good to read, and it was just Excellent journalism as always, and we appreciate the support you show this channel and the fact you're willing to chat to us when you must be mad busy. So yeah, thanks for chatting to us, Henry. Always a pleasure.
Pleasure. Have a good Christmas.
You too. Take care.
Cheers, mate.
So there you have it. That was an exclusive interview with Henry Winter, giving us the sort of behind the scenes look at that Marcus Rashford interview, letting us know how it came about, what he took from it, and what he thinks the next steps will be for Marcus Rashford. An interview that has really sort of shook the world of not just Manchester United, but football. So fair play to Henry Winter for getting that exclusive, and a big thank you again to him for chatting to us, even if he did ruin our Christmas do. It's not his fault though. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. I've been Jay Motty. This has been a one-on-one interview with Henry Winter. Thanks for watching.